Sometimes you just gotta go bar down.
Kirill, top titty 2x4 to end the game. That was nice.
Bardown Beauties.
That's the sexy part of the game, is it not? The plays and the goals and the...
Yeah, that's what you guys like. I mean, it is great.
And now, a new episode of Bardown Beauties with Jessi Pierce and Kirsten Krull. Hello, everybody. What's up? Bardown Beauties, episode 272. I'm Jessi Pierce, writer for NHL.com. She's Kirsten Krull, in arena host. First things first, Kirsten, we survived. We did it. Round of applause for us. Thank you. Thank you. Take a bow. How are we feeling? We had 11 NHL home games, plus NCHC, plus high school hockey, plus you had women's Frozen Four over at... on the U of M campus. Why am I blanking? Ritter. Thank you. Ritter, right? And
Yep.
then you had PWHL as well, amongst other things that we have going on in life. March had us all a little crazy. How are we feeling this Monday as we record our episode?
I'm feeling accomplished. I feel a new sense of rejuvenation as well. And you know what? I'm really embracing 1 week without a hockey event to attend. Like, I didn't even brush my hair today. Like, I'm still in my
Nice.
pajamas. Like, day after completing a 17-game month, I'm in break mode.
I just realized I have a massive toothpaste stain on my sweatshirt as well. So that's how we're feeling today. I did do my hair though, so that's good. But
You have
please
that
ignore.
going for you.
Yeah.
Some of us didn't even brush our hair. So.
Made it even worse now too. That's fine. We're gonna move on from it's gonna drive me nuts. This entire episode is gonna drive me nuts. And because I pointed it out, that's how it's gonna be. Anyway, yeah, like I literally days of the week had just kind of gone by, and I know people are probably like, guys, how are you complaining about covering all that hockey? Like it takes a lot out of you. It's exhausting. Those are long days.
Yeah, I'm not complaining about
I'm not
getting to cover
complaining.
the hockey.
No.
I am just exhausted. Like,
Yeah.
especially like, and it's not meant in a bad way because I love doing it and I think it's so much fun. But going out and entertaining a crowd, especially like if we have a game like we did against New Jersey recently, where you have to bring the energy, it takes so much. It's draining. Like you just are exhausted after.
We'll start there as we talk about the Minnesota Wild and their recent play, as well as looking into the upcoming week. Again, we're recording this on a Monday, so they do play in New Jersey tonight. So we're going to scrap that, pretend that that's not happening, forget everything about tonight's game as we discuss this. And not to go backward, but yeah, John Hines, very unhappy about the way the Minnesota Wild played, who looked unfocused, who looked tired and just completely checked out, which you had New Jersey coming into St. Paul on the second half of a back-to-back in Winnipeg, losing 4-rip, and to just be kind of a no-show. It was very embarrassing, especially at this point in the season, Kirsten. Now, the Minnesota Wild tied with St. Louis. They do have a game in hand, but they are tied with 87 points in that wild card position. They do have the top wild card spot as it sits because of that game in hand. But again, St. Louis is hot. Like, I don't know if they're going to lose another game. They have a cupcake schedule to close out the rest of the regular season. They're on a 9-game heater. I don't mind, I guess, if the Wild take wild card 1 or 2. Either way, it feels like a lost effort. But you can't no-show at any of these games anymore. You got the Devils. You've got the Rangers coming up this week. You've got the Islanders coming up. And then you're back home on Sunday to face the Dallas Stars. There is no room for error anymore.
No, there's not. And here's the thing. The Wild, especially when you look at all of the players they've had out that they're missing, that they've lost to injury this year, they've outperformed expectations.
Yeah.
They have. Just given the handout, they have outperformed all season long. But it is so frustrating to be in this position once again, where like even last season, it was unlikely we were going to make the playoffs, but it was still like, oh, like there's a chance. This year, it's, I would say, unless they really, really just don't show up to any of their games, it's hard for them to miss it at this moment, but there's still a chance they could. It's just frustrating to be at this point in the season once again, where it could potentially come down to the last game of the season to know if they're going to be in or out.
And the opponents are going to shift, and it's day by day. And I do always love that approach. And I know John Hines certainly emphasizes that. But you look at it, Winnipeg and Dallas are the two teams that have clinched right now in the division. Winnipeg sits with 106 points and Dallas with 100. Now, it's very possible. Winnipeg's starting to falter a little bit. It is very possible that Dallas goes ahead and takes that number one spot, which again then puts Minnesota in a weird spot. Like, do you want Winnipeg? Do you want Dallas? Do you want Vegas? I mean, all three of those teams on paper and, in fact, on the ice are better than the Minnesota Wild as they sit right now in this current juncture. And that could even be with or without Kirill Kaprizov and Eriksson, and we'll talk a little bit more about them. But you've got that. You've got the St. Louis factor going in. Minnesota currently has a 6-point lead on the Vancouver Canucks, a 7-point lead on the Calgary Flames to maintain a spot in the playoffs in that wild card race. Calgary does have 2 games in hand. To make it even better, Kirsten, and we can focus on this next week, they go to Calgary and Vancouver for a back-to-back next weekend before they close out the regular season at home against the Anaheim Ducks. So a lot to play. I think in my little mathematical, which we all know Jessi's not very good at math. That's not a joke. It's just reality. I think if they go 500, they're in. Like they will have too many points. Now, I'm not suggesting they go 500, but I do think that they will be in either that 1 or 2 wild card spot by doing that. Now, again, that depends on how the other teams perform. That's all varying on different factors, but I think that feels a little bit more comfortable that they should be in the playoffs. It should be okay. But my question to you, Kirsten, does it even matter if you're going to go into the play? And I know, and this isn't necessarily to fuel the narrative of, oh, who cares? They just get bounced in the first round. I don't even feel like there's a competition for the Minnesota Wild in the first round. Like every other year you can look at it and say, hey, maybe, maybe there's something special. I don't have that same sense. I do feel very confident that they go into that first round of the playoffs against the Jets or the Stars or the Golden Knights, and they don't win one game.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them maybe getting a win, but this year I do not feel confident, regardless of who the opponent is, that they're going to make a push. Now, this is the thing that sucks. If you asked me at the start of the year, and it leads into another comment, I wasn't going to say, where's that Minnesota Wild team that we saw at the start of the year, because we obviously know we're missing half of those players to injury that were on that squad. But I just missed the level of compete that was there, and how just it was truly we could say we had depth at the start of the season and all of that, and now it's this is a very depleted team.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's frustrating to watch. It's, again, I go back and laugh because that was our expectations heading into the preseason. So what are we doing getting upset or disappointed? But you raise the bar. We all raise our expectations. You can't knock the bar out from underneath us all of a sudden and be like, oh, well, we did good in the first half. Nobody cares. You don't get a Stanley Cup trophy for winning the first half of the season. And now, yes, it was great to be elated, and that made it a very fun year. But and we could point to, it's Kirill Kaprizov and Eriksson missing. Now, on that point, we did talk to John Hines on Sunday afternoon before the team left for this upcoming 3-game road trip and checked in on Kirill Kaprizov and Eriksson, both of whom are going to be on the road trip. Kirill checking in with his doctor that performed his surgery about a month and a half back in New York. Neither is expected to play. Okay, but listen to what John Hines had to say about what this road trip means to him, where each of those players are at medically.
You know what? I don't know if it's necessarily medically cleared, but he is going to go. It's more of an update of where he's at and maybe what's the next time frame. I guess would be more than saying cleared, but I think where is he at now after his last checkup? Now he's done some things and expand. Where is he really at? Now, and then maybe that might give us a little bit more clarification on.
So you still are convinced he's not going to play on the road trip?
Correct. I'll probably know more after he sees the doctor. I don't. I just know that he's gone back. Like I said the other day, they've started on ice with the trainers, which I wouldn't classify as skating. It's more rehab, like you would in the gym. They came out, have skated a few days with Ness and things like that. Now they get into team practice, but they didn't do any contact. Right, so it's where's he at now with Eki? There's a timeline, which we'll have to see where he's going to be at and how he feels, and then Kirill, obviously post surgery, going back to see the doctor, and then we'll have probably a better feel after that examination. I think with Eki, some of that's going to be where he's at, how he feels truly, and then honestly, I don't know what the doctor's going to say. The doctor may say, hey, he looks good, and it's as soon as he feels good, get him in some contact and he can play, or it's going to be another time. I don't know. That's why I don't want to say that one's ahead of the other. I think we just need to wait and see what happens.
I could be reading between the lines, Kirsten, and maybe I just get this utter sense that Kirill Kaprizov's going to go to his doctor, and his doctor is going to say exactly what John Hines said. Yep, if he clears for contact, if he feels comfortable, he can be game ready. Kirill Kaprizov is going to basically tell everybody, F you, I'm playing, if the doctor says he's clear contact. Do you think he plays on this road trip? Despite John Hines stressing to us that he will not. If the doctor says, okay, if he has that doctor's appointment today on Monday, gets a practice in, I mean, why not play against the Islanders?
I mean, I have my initial gut instinct, and I think maybe it's just because I always prepare for the worst. It's probably going to be, oh, he's actually out longer. Again, even more so than we thought. That's my initial gut reaction, like that it's not going to be good news coming from his doctor, but that's just because I come from very negative space where I assume the worst all the time.
Fair.
But the other part of me is I feel like that front office and John Hines have to have some insight that they are not sharing with everybody, or like they're publicly saying one thing, but they know behind the scenes there's more going on. Because otherwise it goes back to that age-old question, why would you not have put Jewel or Kirill on LTIR if you knew that they weren't going to be ready? So they have to know something that they are not publicly willing to share.
Yeah.
That something is going to be happening very soon here. So I don't know. I'm very split on both of those. I think anything's possible.
And it sounds like for Jewel Eriksson, per John Hines on Sunday, that it's kind of him making that call a little bit. Now, this also leads to the other question. If going back to what I just said and what you kind of agreed with, if they're going to get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, why do we even need them back at all? Let them heal, let them do the thing, right? Like
because my bank account needs at least 2 extra paychecks is why.
This is
2 extra games, 2 extra paychecks to get me through the off season. So I need it selfishly. This is about me. This is not about the team.
It's always about us, in case people haven't figured that out yet. It's what we can gain from this. No, I mean, it's such a pessimistic approach, right? But it's also, you can't have these guys hurt throughout the entire... Now, you have a long off season, feasibly, if they don't advance out of this first round. Plenty of time to heal up, which is always kind of nice. But you can't have this be a lingering effect for Kirill. You can't have this be a lingering effect for Jewel Eriksson. It's confusing because I see both sides of the bread here. Is that a saying? It's kind of like Alice in Wonderland, right? One side of the bread makes you big, the other one makes you small.
I think you made that up. I've never heard that.
It's you butter both sides of the bread thing.
I just heard both sides of the bread. I didn't hear.
I don't know. I made like 5 pieces of toast this morning for the children, all of whom wanted different things on top of their toast. So maybe that's why it's a thing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want Kirill to play on this road trip personally. But also, again, as we've discussed, Kirill Kaprizov wants to do what Kirill Kaprizov wants to do. I also heard, I find it interesting, that Yanni Gourde had the same surgery by the same doctor, and Yanni Gourde returned to play much quicker. Now, again, players are different with the way their bodies heal and all of that, but I do find that nugget particularly curious. Like, why is this so different for Kirill versus Yanni? And again, watching Kirill on Sunday practice with the team for the first time in forever, he looked good. And I mean, there was no contact, but there was bumping. There was him moving around. It'll be very interesting to see what happens for those two guys. Speaking of two guys, or speaking of a guy, I guess, rather, the Frozen Four is set. It was supposed to be a down year for the NCHC, Kirsten, but in fact, it is not. Western Michigan, that's their first ever berth, right, in the Frozen Four?
Correct.
And Penn State, first ever berth in the Frozen Four as well. They're obviously Big Ten, but from NCHC, Western Michigan, Denver, which means Zeev Buium's NHL debut on hold until that. I want to talk about Zeev a little bit. I had kind of mentioned to you in the NCHC, he's got a little bit of extra swag. We saw him throughout the course of the season get into fights and do just a little bit more of this kind of aggressive approach, not in a bad way necessarily, just very different from what you saw in his freshman campaign. Now, we know the offensive skill. Again, my concern for Zeev is his defensive end of the game as a defenseman is a little lagging, right? I love that he's so gung-ho on going toward the net, starting the play, getting into the offensive zone and shooting the puck and scoring. I love that. But it makes me curious, like, is he going to get blown by in the NHL as a defenseman then too? Where are you assessing Zeev's game at right now? Are you excited that he's going to advance on? He might be coming to the Wild with 2 back-to-back NCAA championships plus 2 back-to-back World Juniors. That's a possibility. Or do you want to see them get bounced right away and have him join? If he joins, do you want to see them burn that year of ELC and sign him right away and play right away? What's your take, Kirsten, on Mr. Zeev Buium?
There's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to unpack. I'm very excited, and I've maintained that excitement, especially after the Frozen Face-Off championship with Denver and seeing Zeev. Very excited to see him on a Wild roster. Do I want to see him burn 1 year of his contract? No, but I'm, especially if I don't think the Wild are going to make the push. I don't know. Then I think it could be on hold a little bit, but the excitement's there. And so because of that, I'm like, I'm anxious to see what he's going to do. Also, just kind of going back, talking a little college hockey for a second, Western Michigan, I want to see them win the whole thing. And I think I maintained that heading into the NCAA tournament as well. Pat Ferschweiler, Rochester, Minnesota native, John Marshall High School grad. Just really feel that connection there with good old Pat, even though we've never spoken. But yeah.
Kindred spirits, if you will.
Exactly. And plus, like, Denver, we know they're good. The narrative's going to get boring, tiring of them just continuously winning. Let's make it somebody new.
I kind of like Penn State going, though, for it, right? Like, Penn State could be kind of fun. You know, their storyline obviously being an ACHC championship. I remember when I was at Iowa State many moons ago, decades ago at this point, and Penn State was in ACHA Division I, and they were constantly winning. Like, they were such a good program. And I think Penn State, their move to D1 was so good and so smart. Like, they got the right coaches in there. They got the recruiting right. I mean, they did a lot of really good things that I think some teams that have made that jump up didn't necessarily do. Plus, they went Bardown Beauty to score their goal to push them over into the Frozen Four. So I wouldn't mind. Plus, Big Ten. I had once upon a time started a blog called the Big Ten Hockey Blog when Big Ten was first announced, and people hated it because they hated Big Ten hockey. Well, you know, it's here. It's fine. It's good for the sport. We love it. Yeah, I don't need Denver to win. Not because I need Zeev Buium here. I just don't need Denver to win.
Western Michigan, baby. Broncos.
I don't need BU to win either. Like, been there, done that. Like, no. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
And the Broncos have quite a few Minnesotan representatives on their squad as well. Not only in your coach, but Alex Bump. You got some more road kids. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. Speaking of college hockey too, the Gophers have been cleaned of all of their top players. Just pew, 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 all to their respective NHL teams.
Next year is going to be interesting.
It's going to be a real test for Bob Motzko and how he replaces their top scorers. Now their top defenseman, Ryan Chesley, also signing.
He signed too?
He just signed this morning.
Because I know he was one that was more or less likely to.
Yep, he just signed. So I think in total, 7 as it sits right now at 11 o'clock on Monday.
Jimmy Snuggerud, Oliver Moore, Sam Rinzel, Ryan Chesley. There's one other one I'm blanking on.
One that signed the same day as Miles Wood or Oliver Wood.
Yep, that's who I'm thinking of. Brody Lamb, did he sign?
I didn't see that one, but I feel like there wasn't it's a big amount of guys. Like, yeah, Snuggie you weren't surprised by, right? Moore you weren't surprised. Or wait, is it Oliver Moore?
Oliver Moore. Yep.
Yes.
With Sam Rinzel to Chicago.
Sam Rinzel. Yes. Okay. But is there a Wood?
Yeah, there is a Wood. That was the other one I was blanking on.
Okay, so that's
he also
7,
signed
right?
somewhere.
Yes. Okay. Poor Gophers. Well, what are you going to do? Be fun. That's going to do it for this first half. We have a ton of questions to get to, but before we do bust into that Cues with the Buttes, I got to give a shout out to my boy Ovi. I love that man. I was so disappointed to not see him score a goal here. He is now just 5 away, though. He scored Sunday night. What a human. What a just tremendous human. Like, I know everybody's already seen the handshake line, him going and talking to Marc-Andre Fleury. I got to sit down with Flower last week and talk about their relationship. And the thing that I loved, because you see more and more videos of Ovi continuing to circulate of him like in the hallway. Like you always talk about how he's like chicken parm, babe, and like hitting it, and his accent's so funny. But Kirsten, have you seen the latest video? Like I've had 10 people send it to me.
I think I know what you're talking about. His rap music
the bands,
video.
Bands will make a dance. Bands will make a dance. But in his accent and his just like his demeanor, it's a super inappropriate song, by the way, too, because I listened to it. I was like, oh my God, this is aggressive. He doesn't go into the bad parts of it, but it was just, he's having so much fun playing hockey. And again, I reiterate, that's what makes Marc-Andre Fleury so lovable. That's what makes Kirill so lovable, because when he's out there, he's having fun. And I think sometimes you just need that burst of energy. And for a guy that's 40 years old and out there having a good time, like Flower even pointed to that, like the best thing about when Ovi scores is he's so excited to score a goal. The man has scored almost 900 goals in his career, and each one he is just over the moon elated. And Fleury said he's been like that since he started in the league, and it's just a little shout out to my boy. I'm sad that we didn't get to have our one-on-one, because I was doing a one-on-one with Flower, which I know sounds super selfish to be like, oh, poor you had to go sit down and talk to him, but you know, it's fine.
Can I say a hot take? Well, I don't even think it's that hot of a take.
Yeah.
It is incredible. Ovi's about to break a record that was once deemed untouchable. And honestly, probably Ovi's record now probably will never be touched once he does break it. But the NHL has drugged this out for so long. Like, it's been a hot topic that Ovi's going to break this record, and they've made like the great chase. Like, they've just, the narrative of it has been so drawn out. It's kind of at the point now where it's like, just let me know when it happens.
Here's
when
the
it
thing.
gets within one, let me know.
Here's the thing. So I think they have 5 games left, right? Or something like that. Did you see their last game of the regular season, the narrative? So I saw this when this came about when they were in Minnesota. They said, okay, the new timeline is now to be April 17th against Pittsburgh Penguins.
That'd be sick.
You can't even make that up. Like, forget all of it now. Forget. I've trashed it. He didn't do it in St. Paul, so whatever. I don't really care where he does it, but now I need that to happen. That storyline, chef's kiss. And then it also makes you feel like you're kind of maybe living in a simulation, because like, oh, of course that's going to be the thing.
Yeah.
But also like, what if he doesn't do it? Right? Like, I mean,
yeah, it's
like, what do you do?
like, I will be watching
next
when it
year
gets within one goal, but I'm just like,
Yeah.
brother, like, this has been months we've been talking about this.
Like, for him, he's got to be like, oh, what the hell? Like, he probably has to look at all, like, that time when he set up that kid for his hat trick, and it's like, oh, I could have scored there. It was that one goal that I needed. Oves. Yeah, just what a beaut. What a freaking beaut. He's second on my list behind Gretzky, I think.
Yeah.
Like, needs to happen. He seems so fun and just so lovable, and I don't know. What a guy. What a gem. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, cues of the Buttes. Your favorite P-Dub dynamic duo has teamed up with our friends at SotaStick for a one-of-a-kind merch collaboration. Signed, sealed, and delivered women's hockey superstars Grace Zumwinkle and Taylor Heisey bring their patented personalities with a whole vibe on tees and crew necks, now available only at SotaStick.com. While you're purchasing those, don't forget to toss in some 1980 Miracle memorabilia to help celebrate the 45th anniversary of everyone's favorite on-ice moment. As always, use code Bardown Beauties at checkout for 15% off all purchases at SotaStick.com. What's up? We are back. Ton of great questions from you guys this week, so shout out to all of you. We're going to try to cruise through all of them, or at least as many as we can. Starting it off, our friend James from Offside Hockey Talk out in Toronto. He asks, Kirsten, if Cap didn't get injured, he was having an MVP caliber season. That being said, if he didn't get injured and that season continued, where would you rank him in the MVP voting?
He'd at least be a finalist. And I don't know. If he continued at that pace he was going, I think he would have won it.
It's hard because, you know, the voters, the people that vote on that, the writers in the Professional Hockey Writers Association, they all have their different approaches, right, as to what MVP of the regular season means. To me, I think without doubt, if he had continued on the clip that he was, which was, I think, 1.6 goals per game and whatnot, he's right there with McKinnon. He's right there with, I think, Leon Draisaitl is up there now over Connor McDavid.
Draisaitl's having a year.
What a year. Good for him. Good for him. I've always liked him just a smidge more than Con. Just a smidge.
My little German.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, Cap is more valuable to the Minnesota Wild than Leon is to Edmonton and that Mac is to Colorado, right? Like, yes, they all play their roles, but this is even more evident with him being out what the team looks like. So I would have to say, and this isn't even biased, I would vote for him to be that guy, right?
Well,
and
not
then
even to mention, we got to remember back to the start of the season, all the hype, national media attention he was getting. Like, everybody was on the Kaprizov train.
People knew about the Minnesota Wild for a change.
They did.
It was incredible. So very unbiased to me, I would have to say his value to the Minnesota Wild puts him as the MVP. No doubt he's a finalist. No question he would have been a finalist had everything continued the way it was. And hopefully you can get back in that conversation. Again, I know he doesn't care about that, right? We all know that. But it's pretty cool for Minnesota to have a player of that caliber that people can talk about on a national scale. So that's where I leave that.
All right, now our next question coming from third period hype man Paul Anderson. You guys have seen him at games. We love him. Do the Wild have one of the softest big guy fourth lines in the NHL currently? What a perfect question for you.
It's so good. I hate it. I hate everything about that fourth line. I dislike everything about those players. Yakov Trenin. It's 6 cement hands down there, right? It really is. It's just 6 guys that bring very little. They don't bring the physical presence, really. Justin Brazeau, I'm still waiting on that. Like, they have the size, but they don't do anything with it. And I'm unapologetically have a disdain for that line. Like, I'd play with 3 lines instead of even having that fourth line out there. That's my take. But yes, correct.
Correct. I mean, I don't really have anything else to add.
Yeah.
It's been under-impressive.
I'm going to be mean here when I say it, but I feel like I need to say it. Every time they show Justin Brazeau on the camera, I'm like, who is that? Like, I literally I don't even know. Nothing. There's nothing that excites me about it. You can say about the fourth line, they do their job. No, they don't even play their role very well. Sometimes they're, to be clear, there was like one game last week where I was like, oh, the fourth line actually did a really nice job. I haven't said that more than once all season. We can continue. My rant's done.
I love it.
I'm going to say something mean.
Okay. Well, we'll move on. I asked you the last question.
You did ask me the last question?
I'm waiting.
I'm still just trying to button it up. Okay. Next question coming to us from Brock Kaprizov, which again, I'm going to go on a limb and suggest is not the real name, but we love it. They ask, how do you see the third pair of defense next year? Now, I'm assuming they're alluding to Zeev Boyum, obviously, coming into play as well. John Merrill, I don't believe, will be re-signed, so we could probably forego that. So you're looking at Kirsten, Faber, Middleton, Spurge, Broads, Chisholm, Bogosian, and Zeev as your defense available. How are you pairing them next year?
Gosh. Well, also, we have Juracek too down in Iowa.
Good call.
We're not even Chisholm. I don't know how. I'm trying to do mental gymnastics too, thinking about the contracts, because Chisholm is a free agent after this season.
He's an RFA, I believe.
Okay, and then Bogosian, what's his contract?
One more year. I'm pretty sure. Bogo. Yep.
I don't think we get Chisholm back, and I think Bogo potentially becomes 7th defenseman. But it also depends on Juracek.
Who do you put
where
Zeev
he's
with?
At? Huh?
Who do you put Zeev with?
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. Like, I don't know if you would put him with like a Middleton or I don't know.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately, because even heading into this year, if he comes and you sign him, and it's easy to say, okay, Johnny Merrill. And again, I reiterate, guys, Johnny Merrill's been playing fine. He's been fine.
He'll be playing hockey next year. I just don't think in Minnesota.
I wonder if you put Zeev with Spurgeon. As much as we love Brody and Spurgeon together, I think you put Zeev with Spurgeon because Spurgeon can help cover up those mistakes, those blemishes that Zeev is ultimately going to have as a rookie defenseman in the league. Plus, you've got Jiricek, Zeev, and Broads as right shot defensemen, right? So that's the other thing, is you have to look at the way that lines up. I know everybody wants to see Faber and Zeev together. I don't think we're ready for that, and I think Faber and Middleton have had such a chemistry. But here's the even crazier part, is if you do pair Zeev and Spurge together, you're looking at making either a Spurgeon a sixth or a third line defensive pairing, or you're looking at Brodin being a third line defensive pairing, which, again, good problems to have, but it's super curious. And that's the other reason then, too. Maybe you leave Jiricek in Iowa for another year. Let Bogo play out this year because he's on the right. So I would go, my pairings, I guess, gun to head. Middleton, Faber, Zeev, Spurge, Broads, Bogo.
I'd sit Bogo.
I know you would.
Check a chance.
I would too. I don't, again, that's not how management likes to do it, right?
No, I know.
But
so
yeah,
that's
I
what
don't disagree.
I would do, but I'm also not in the front office.
That's true. It is. Again, it's a good problem to have because you finally have a blue line that's pretty plump on really solid options. But yeah. And also it depends. I don't know what it is like to recover from a lacerated spleen. Like, is he fine to go next year then?
The report from PR was he'll be ready by next season.
Perfect. Love that.
But he's out the rest of this year.
There we go. Okay.
Ow. Okay, moving on to our next question from Chris Shad. It's a two-parter. How important do you think a regular season ramp-up is for Kaprizov and Jewell? And if they are able to return, how many games would you like to see them play before the playoffs?
I go back and it's actually probably very important because they've both been out for so long. Like, it'd be one thing if they had missed a couple weeks here. Like, getting back into that game shape, any player will tell you how difficult that is. And Kirill has mentioned that before, how hard it was for him to just hop in to the playoffs. And you saw that lingering effects of him into the start of the year last year, right? So I think Kirill wants that longer runway, needs that longer runway. I would like to see him get... You don't even have any games left. Like, you're running out of time here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 8 games left, I think, as of, again, Monday. I would like to see Kirill get 4, frankly. And that's probably being overabundant, but I want to see him get 4. Ecker, I would like to see him get 3, if not 4 as well. I'm a little less needing of him to get the games in. I don't know why, which is probably silly, but I just am. But that's what I would like. Kirsten, what do you think?
It's hard for me to say as somebody who is not an athlete, in the sense of I don't know how much time you would really need. I don't know. I think, honestly, it kind of goes back to a similar sentiment I shared about, like, Brodin. Having them is better than not having them. So even if they had, like, 2 games per se, that would be huge. But I don't know what their recovery time is. I don't know what they need. So it's harder for me to say, I suppose, to give a good answer on how many games I think they should have.
Oh, God, I need, like, a bunch. I'd be like, I'm so out of breath.
Yeah, same. I would need a whole season.
Come back at me next year. Like, I can't do this. Yeah, be interesting to see what happens for sure. Next question coming to us from Stephen B, which is at Viking King 888. Kirsten, yours is perfect for you. He wants to know, would you trade Marco Rossi for Elias Pettersson 1-for-1?
No. Like, no, I wouldn't. I like Marco Rossi. I think there's so much potential there. No, I want him on our team.
Okay.
He's young.
I bet Bill Guerin would trade him 1-for-1.
Okay. You've been saying that all season, and he's still on the team, so...
Yeah, that's fine. Just time's a ticket. I mean, Pettersson struggled mightily after they made that JT Miller trade, which was kind of hilarious because JT Miller went on and thrived. But Pettersson's a really good player. I don't think Vancouver was wrong in hindsight, sure. But at the time, that's the play I would have chosen, too. Like, I would have been like, dude, This kid's way more skilled, way better hands than JT Miller, and is less of a prick, for lack of a better word. So, yeah, no, I'd do it. That'd be a hell of a 1-for-1, in my opinion.
You're just eager to get rid of Marco.
I'm not eager to get rid of him. I just think
you're always jumping at the chance when it's a theoretical proposition.
I just want to be right. You know, that means the world to me in a lot of senses.
Yep. All right. Well, we're moving on to the next question.
Go to the next question.
Dan Bradley. Liam Ogren is nearly a point per game player in the AHL, 32 games played, 16, 14, and 30 record. But the Wild have a lot of time and money tied up in left wings, assuming Kaprizov extension and Boldy, Foligno, Trenin. Are the Wild more likely to convert him to right wing, or is he going to end up a trade candidate?
If you do not buy out Yakov Trenin's contract this summer, I am going to just, I don't know, do something very egregious, something very uncharacteristic. I don't know what I will do, but my goodness, buy the contract out and put Liam Ogren there. It's not that hard. No, I don't think, in all seriousness, though, I don't think they trade him. I think they recognize his value. They have been trying to give him the opportunity. He would be up here right now if they could afford to have him up here. I have no doubt about that. I think he's gone down in Iowa, and he's had a really good attitude about it, too. Like, each time I've spoken to him when he does get that recall, he's been very like, yep, nope, it's been great down there. Everything's good. And that says a lot to the front office and management and to the coaches, too, right? Like, all right, this is a kid that gets it. He understands, and again, has that skill. He's still a young guy. So I don't foresee them trading him at all. And you're right, and with the other guys you'd mentioned, with Boldy and Foligno and Kaprizov all on that left side. Now, Boldy can go over to the right. He's done that before. I think Foligno you keep on the left. And I'm trying to think. I don't know if they ever played Liam over on the right, but I do like him on left. Buy out Yakov Trenin. It's an easy thing. Or sit him in the press box, I guess, if you're convinced that you don't want to buy him out, but whatever. I would play Liam Ogren all day, every day over number 13.
Yeah, no notes. Like, you're not going to trade Liam Ogren to keep a Trenin on your team. Like, that's just not going to be a thing. But also, I was thinking, too, like, even just, like, about readjusting kind of positions. I was thinking, too, even when we saw throwback Matt Boldy playing center for a little period of time.
Right.
Like, it's not out of the question, I guess, that they would try to change some things up.
And Liam's got that side. It's very hard from what I've heard from the players to, like, make that trend to try to be a centerman if you're not. Like, everybody can do it. Like, you can be put in that position, right? Like, you're always tossed into the dot if your line mate gets thrown out. But I mean, Liam Ogren has size that he could be a really good center if that was something he had ever explored in his past career. Again, it's not an easy thing to learn when you're at the NHL level, but I don't hate the idea of him having an opportunity there if he were to be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Next question comes to us from Urban at Urban Champ. He wants to know, if the Wild were a box of chocolates, which player is which chocolate?
This is a really bad question for me because I don't eat chocolate, so I also don't know the different types. So
I'm just thinking of like the truffle, like the box of all the flavors. Like, Trenin is coconut. Like, nobody wants the coconut one, and people just throw it out. Like, you take a bite and you're like, oh, gross. Although the irony in that is I actually like coconut-filled chocolate. I don't mind it. But I know that's one that everybody, like, hates.
Yeah.
Or, like, strawberry. Like, who's your like, what's your favorite flavor? You have to have a favorite, like, chocolate flavor, though.
No, I don't eat chocolate. Like, I'll eat brownies.
A bigger issue
chocolate
here. You don't watch movies, you don't eat
cookies.
chocolate. What would you say you do for, like, joy in life?
I do a lot of things for joy. Despite how I appear some Monday mornings, I'm a relatively happy person. So,
I mean, I could tackle this one. I've had a lot of box of chocolates in my day. There's the
this
one
is not
that
a
has
question for me.
the one that has the nut is like a Freddie Gaudreau. Like, it's always there. It's reliable. It's not bad. I don't like the orange cream one. That's like a Justin Brazo. Strawberry's everyone's favorite, so that's probably Kirill. A double chocolate one's maybe like a Jake Middleton or a Brock Faber, just a really thick, solid one on the back line. Marc-Andre Fleury, we're going to give him like a really classic, timeless flavoring. Maybe like a raspberry. I don't know. To be fair, I don't actually eat that much chocolate, despite what that appeared like, but I'm familiar, you know?
Yeah, I
Do you want to
Nothing to
answer
add.
the next one then, in case?
Sure.
Just because. Okay, we're gonna give you the next one from at GP Nicolay. With the exodus of a few top guys from the Gophers, if you were a recruiter, would you go after in-state talent or find some more experienced players to bring in? What of the goalie situation? I've seen a lot of comments for them to look for an experienced goaltender. What are your thoughts?
Well,
I know you're a big Gopher fan, so this is gonna be good.
Well, also just like having seen Bob Motzko and his way of doing things, like at St. Cloud State for the couple of years, like we overlapped there. And he even said this. I came across an interview like a couple days ago on Twitter, like for Minnesota Gopher hockey, like they go in-state talent, I think, first before even going out of state. And it's Gophers have the advantage too. They can get those top players in the state. They want to go there first. That's Big Ten school, great program. Bob Motzko is a great coach, dependent regardless of what other people have been saying, calls to get him fired. That's just ridiculous. But I don't know. There's a lot of talent. We're forgetting there's a lot of talented players in Minnesota right here in our backyard. And I do think that's Bob Motzko's model, is go after the talent that we have here. Why wouldn't you? But also always keep your head on a swivel, keep your eye out for other top players too across the country and go out and recruit. Minnesota's a renowned program. I don't think it's too hard to get people to convince them to come to Minnesota to play.
No, and you're right. They have like the advantage because kids growing up want to play for the U. However, I think that's changed, and that's a testament to St. Cloud and Duluth and St. Thomas now getting on the scene. Bemidji's kind of been that up north guy that's getting the Canadians or the defects or whatever, and I think they're still a really good program. Like I do love seeing in Mankato too. I can't forget about them as well. I love seeing the parity across the state and across the country because at the end of the day, that helps college hockey grow. What I'm super curious about this next, because I think it starts next year, right? When Canadian players are allowed to come, you can tap
That's
into
going
that.
to change the college landscape. It's
so
everywhere.
much, right? Because now
And junior hockey, like it's a ripple down effect. It's going to change a lot.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's where recruiting's going to be very, very interesting, right? Is because you are going to see it. Unfortunately, that's going to hurt a lot of American players now because you have this talent now open to you up on the border, to the point too about getting more experienced players. I've always enjoyed that. I mean, that's Duluth won their national championships on older players, right? And you see some of these, it's very different when you have a 24-year-old big bodied player coming in on the college hockey scene versus a kid that, was named Mr. Hockey maybe his senior year of high school. I mean, those are two very different players, two very different experiences. So I say Motzko goes after whatever he can. Now, the other advantage is Big Ten hockey. There's a little bit more money there. There's a little bit more exposure. So that's also going to play into Motzko's hand. Versus...
I would say one of the disadvantages is you have the opportunity to go across the country, get these top players, but you can't promise the same playing time to all of these players.
Right.
Or a lot of players will want to come in and want to be the guy, and they have the talent, but they can't be because there's only so many spots. So I think that's one of the disadvantages too with trying to get all of the top talent to Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly. No, it'll be very, very interesting on how they reload, because as Kirsten and I mentioned in the first half, there's 7 players, I believe, gone from the Gopher roster, 7 top players, top minutes, top lines. So they're going to definitely, and I don't know that it is as easy for the Gophers to just reload as it has been in the past for the reasons I mentioned, right? Which again, I think is good. I say this as a Gopher fan. I love having a good St. Cloud team. I love having good, plus then I can hop off the Gopher bandwagon when they lose and I can find another Minnesota team to cheer for because we love Minnesota to succeed in hockey. But it's different. And I think a reminder to everybody, if you want college hockey to grow or you want hockey to grow in general, you have to be excited about that disbursement of talent going other places. So you can see Western Michigan's get in, Penn State's get in. Like it's exciting for the game. So I'm here for it.
Yeah. Well, this leads us into another question. And Jessi, I also feel this pertains more to you than me because I consider myself more like on the entertainment aspect of sports as opposed to like the journalistic aspect, which like I have done previously and still do on a little bit here and there, dabble in. But overall, let me start that over. Do your male peers in the press box genuinely respect you as sports and hockey journalists, or do they feel you're influencers? For what it's worth, I think you guys do great.
No offense taken to that question either, because I get it, because certainly Mike Russo isn't bringing a ring light with him up to the press box to take pictures and do videos and all of that, right? So I understand that it can be misconstrued a little bit. For me, I've always approached it as like, I'm a sports reporter first and a journalist, right? Because I'm in there getting the news. But I give the accessibility of an influencer a little bit, right? Because to me, in my opinion, sports media has changed so much. Like, obviously, the way people are consuming it, it's podcasts, it's TikTok, it's Twitter. It's not picking up a newspaper and reading my story anymore. It is, I have to find other ways to disseminate that information to you. So that's why I do focus on doing kind of the fun photos behind the scenes, or Kirsten and I going down ice level and getting some pictures to use for marketing materials, because I think also putting a face to some of those bylines is going to keep you more engaged, right? That's the nature of the beast, right or wrong. I've never felt that any of the males, at least to my face, I don't know, they might be talking some shit behind my back. Kevin Gorg will give me some crap once in a while. He's like, "Are you really taking a picture right now?" I was like, "I really am. This is good for my followers." So I think I play a hand in both. I loathe the word influencer. I would like to find another word for it, but I don't think it's made me any less of a professional reporter. I think it's just made me a more modernized reporter.
Yeah. And also, I would just say, too, for a lot of these jobs, people don't realize they do like have a quota for how many social media posts that you need, or like they do look at like your follow count, all of that. So I don't think a lot of people realize it's so much more than just the job you see on the outside. You have to wear so many hats and do multiple things and grow a presence just outside of what the job duties at hand entail.
Every time. Yeah. Like even in college, like I think I was like, maybe I'll be a broadcaster, maybe I'll be a writer, maybe I'll be a social media person. Maybe, I mean, I do all of that now in one job essentially, but be well versed. I like it. From Jay Lofgren 22, what's the most annoying question you two get the most?
No disrespect to anybody who has asked me this, but can I get tickets to a game? Can you get me tickets? Because a lot of the time it's coming from people that like make no effort to talk to me on a daily basis, or like outside of a certain function. So it's like, if I can barely get my mom tickets to a game, respectfully, why would I get you tickets to a game? That's my most annoying.
That, and
it's also not as easy as people think it is. Like, I don't just get this access.
Yeah, that, or like an autograph, or like gear or something like that. Like, no. And if I do ever get that opportunity, it's going to like my kids. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't get that. That's where it'll cross the line of professionalism, right? Like, very few times am I ever going to go out of my way to try to get that connection. And if I do, it's for a charity, or it's, you know, a big Christmas present or something like that. Because yeah, it's just that can't be doing that. I get asked if I have an OnlyFans a lot as well, and I don't, so sorry.
Yeah, what can you do? All right, let's kind of buzz through these next couple.
Gary K, is Velstead the number 2 next year, or do the Wild explore someone this summer?
Oh, I thought I was supposed to ask that one for you.
Oh yeah, you were. Do you want to ask that one?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Is Wallstedt the number 2 next year? Do the Wild explore someone this summer?
It wouldn't surprise me if they do explore. I think in their minds he is the number 2, but with how poorly this season has gone for him, it's got to raise some questions. I think it's very fair of the Wild to look at it and say, hey, maybe if there is somebody else out here, maybe you do look at doing a 3-goalie rotation to start, or you at least bring someone in. Internally, they have nobody else. It is Jesper. That is the guy. They don't really have, I don't think, anybody that's even near potential to come up. And I think Jesper is going to earn his spot, but there's a desperate need of a reset for him. So explore it, find out, but he'll probably be your number 2. But I wouldn't surprise me if they find a cheaper goalie to also play, like an older goalie to play like another role.
Well, and granted, the money situation and whatnot, but I just feel too, even looking at the standpoint of like even just bringing him up more experience or whatnot, we have not seen Jesper since the fall. And again, a lot of that has to do financial reasons, but also I think it's a little telling too. We haven't seen him back up in St. Paul.
Yeah, exactly. The Wall of St. Paul, it's just got some chips in it right now, I think.
B Sheenrock 16. I don't even think I pronounced that right. I'm so sorry. How did you get involved in this?
I liked hockey, and I learned I could get paid to talk hockey. There's a whole long story that we'll have to get into at another time that I'm sure we can do at maybe a live show coming up in 2 weeks. We'll see. But that was basically the crux of it. I thought hockey was awesome. I learned I could get paid for it. And I said when I was 18 years old, I was going to work for the Minnesota Wild. And lo and behold, I've done myself even better and work for the NHL. So, boom.
Yeah. I always wanted to go into sports broadcasting. I went to St. Cloud State. The rest is history.
Love it. Love it. Alicia, and again, congrats. I don't know that I've done this on there. She had a baby. We're very excited for her. Now that the playoffs are near, predictions for conference winners and Stanley Cup winner. I would love to check in, Kirsten. How are your Detroit Red Wings looking right now? I believe we're going to
they're
win.
They're still vying for a playoff spot. Like, they still are in contention to be.
They're not the top of the division.
They should have been better than they are. They should have been better. There's a lot of teams. Did you see Columbus making a push for the playoffs? No, yeah. You didn't. Did we see Seattle taking as big of a dive, officially eliminated from playoff contention as they did? No.
But we did see San Jose just bellying up like they did. Shout out to Macklin Celebrini's car getting hit by the Rangers team bus after the Rangers just popped 6 goals on them too. Like,
God, what a bad day. Yikes.
Who's your conference winner for the West?
Winnipeg.
Okay. Who's your conference winner for the East?
God, I'm going to be honest. I don't know where things sit fully in the East.
I don't either.
Carolina.
I feel like they change. Carolina, because you just love Carolina. And who wins the Stanley Cup then? Winnipeg or Carolina?
I've told you, I've given up on Carolina. Like, in the sense that, like, I think they're going to win the Cup.
So you're cheering for the Winnipeg Jets?
I think Winnipeg has a better chance. And no, I'm not cheering for them. Let's make that very clear.
Feels like you're cheering for the Jets.
I'd rather see an Eastern Conference team win the Cup.
I'm going to go Dallas in the West. Shocking. And I'm going to go Washington in the East. I think that would be a really cool, fun line. But I'm going to go Dallas wins.
Okay.
So that's where we're at. You get the final question. Go.
Hockey and loud music. Which athlete from another sport do you think would fit in with the Wild on the ice?
Justin Jefferson.
I was going to say JJ McCarthy.
Oh, and JJ played a little hockey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, we're going football, guys. We like it. We love it. We want some more of it. I would love Ant, but I think he's way too cocky for it. And
no.
It wouldn't work. Where at least JJ, I think, is very good at the teamwork function that is needed for hockey players. I like JJ McCarthy, though. That's a good call.
Yeah.
God, hope he is ready to sling that pigskin.
I'm buying a McCarthy jersey. Like, I wanted to this year. Like, I am all in on the McCarthy era.
Are you a girly that buys jerseys with names on it often or no?
Yes, I only buy jerseys with names on them.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. See, I never do. Like, Mark Messier behind me, that's just because it's signed. Like, I don't have any name jerseys otherwise.
I have 2 Foligno jerseys.
It's aggressive.
I know.
You should get one of those signed.
I have a Jason Witten jersey. I have a couple Mike Fisher jerseys. I need a McDavid jersey. I need a McDavid jersey.
All right. Yeah, I avoid most
Or if
of the
anyone
time.
wants to gift me a Jonas Brodin jersey, I could use one of those too.
There we go. Yeah, this is us asking you guys for things. How about that?
Yeah.
How about that? I'm going to learn Swedish so I can respond to Jonas Brodin in Sweden after he called Celsius drinks disgusting. And since you told me that they were
really
so bad for
me,
you. I haven't had one since that day.
I'm sorry to spoil it for you. Like, I still have them every now and then, but they're not good for you at all.
It scared me. Quite frankly. But I don't get the headaches. Like, because I'm not as addicted. Like, it's not a daily thing for me. That's caffeine in general isn't a daily thing. Except this month, I was probably consuming them more often just because I felt like I needed something. But the crash is so bad for me, too, after caffeine. Like, I hit a wall and I'm dead tired, so.
Well, I'm fueled by caffeine, as you can see, as I drink my 2-3 cups of coffee in this one episode.
Good work. Proud of you. We are back in action. Love it. The Wild are on the road. Thank you to everybody that got their questions in. Shout out to Talk North, SotaStick, Royal Credit Union, and Grain Belt. Don't forget, check out SotaStick's new merch, the 1980 Miracle stuff, as well as the Taylor Heisey Grace Zumwinkle collaboration. We love that for those girls. Super fun. And don't forget to come check us out at the Minnesotan. Don't forget, I haven't told you guys. Come check us out at the Minnesotan in White Bear Lake next Friday, the 11th, where we'll be previewing the Frozen Four, talking a little puck there, talking a little wild hockey, as well as the Masters, because Kirsten and I, big golfers, you all know this. Minnesotans having us out. We're super excited for that new venture. And we will probably, maybe, I don't know, have a Tom Reed's live show this month. Stay tuned to our socials for that. Otherwise, have a great rest of your week. Go wild. Near, 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 near.